Today I'd like to take you a quick walk through a service on any typical zero-turn rider, which would be very similar on most steering wheel tractors. The processes that we follow on a routine basis to prepare your piece of equipment for next year. This will include a transmission oil change in this demonstration video today. Step number one is to remove the oil drain plug, often located on the end of a pipe or a rubber flexible hose. Sometimes a valve on the engine where we'll add our own hose to allow it to drain neatly into our drain pans, and that can drain while we work with the rest of the service on the unit. Number two is to replace the spark plugs. In this case, we're working on a twin-cylinder engine, so there's a spark plug on both sides for both cylinders that will need to be replaced. Remove the old one. Sometimes a little tight to get in, but with special tools it's not difficult to get in there and change the spark plug to ensure good fuel efficient and good startability for the future. The air filter needs to be replaced. Remove usually easily a cover off the top of the engine, pull out and press in filter. Makes it very simple. We make sure all the additional debris is missing from the chamber by blowing it out, making sure that doesn't go down the intake while we're doing that. Install a fresh air filter to make sure we have optimum performance, and of course clean air going into the engine to ensure that we don't damage the engine during the next season. Engine oil plug is replaced and snugged in, and that hose is stored away again so that it's out of the way and doesn't get damaged during the use next season. Fuel filtration is equally important for premium performance, together with making sure that it's getting clean fuel so it does not clog carburation and or fuel injection, whichever it may be. In this case, a carburation engine. Inline fuel filters have spring clamps that need to be removed, and simply slip one fuel filter off and the other on. While that's out of the way, we can easier access the oil filter with a typical strap wrench. They're not that difficult to loosen, so you can hand spin them off. Nice to have a towel there to capture any oil that will drip out because it's full of the original engine oil. Spin our fresh filter on there, make sure that's hand snug. Once that is snugged, we can remove our rags, make sure we get all the oil clean, the area cleaned up, and we'll come back with a strap wrench to tighten that up to make sure that doesn't come loose from the engine vibration during the season. Fresh fuel filter is placed in. Again, quick spring clamps put back into the fuel line to make sure there's no leakage. Fuel blockage is taken out, so we're ready to go, and we're ready to refill the engine with oil. Typical air-cooled lawnmower engines work best with 10W30 engine oil. In this case, we meter in the proper amount, but again, double check the oil level. We'll run test the engine and come back and double check to make sure once the oil filter's filled that we're still at the right oil level. Tire pressures are equally important, not only to ensure good performance in traction and steering, but also assist in making sure your deck tracks level to give a nice level cut on your mowing, which will check the deck level before this project is complete. Greasing the unit is equally important. There's often grease zerks on most front chassis on the machine, making sure that we press all the old grease out to the point where we're getting fresh grease into the spindles. Also on any deck components, any chassis components are all greased on each service. Moving to the transmission service, we're going to remove the cover off the filters. This is a typical Hydrogear unitized transmission used very commonly on most zero turns in the last 5-10 years. Filter being spun off is the same process as draining the oil from the transmission, so we're going to do that slowly and allow the transmission oil to drain. Once all the fluid has drained out of the transmission, we install new filters. There is a filter on each transmission, and snugged up again with a wrench to make sure that they don't come loose. The covers are placed back in place to protect the oil filter itself, and the transmission is refilled. This process is a little more critical with some plugs we need to be removed to allow proper bleeding of the transmission while we refill. You'll see us refill that shortly. Blades are removed from the machine. Depending on the condition of the blades, they either get replaced and or sharpened during the service process. The debris, this deck is rather clean, but any debris that is found in pockets of the deck gets scraped clean, so you can start with a fresh, clean deck next year. Most premium brands also have a greasable spindle, allowing us to grease that before we install the new blades and or the freshly sharpened blades. Back to the transmission, the reservoirs are typically held at the rear of the machine near the seat. We will refill the transmission through those reservoirs, again allowing it to bleed through until the transmissions are full, and then the oil is checked and set to its proper level. We utilize a ribbon system to keep track of what stage the unit is in, to ensure what has been or has not been done and whether the machine's been completed. Last step in a typical service is to move the machine over so we can check the deck level on the unit. The entire service process takes approximately an hour and a half on a typical unit, so obviously not nearly everything done is shown here together with the drive testing. The belts have been inspected and a lot of other inspection adjustments we do to make sure that it's operating as it should and prepared to operate for the next cutting season. The deck level is checked from the front of the blade to the back of the blade to make sure that is level or a 1/4 inch rise to the front. Both left and right are checked, and we also check it from left to right to make sure you're getting a level cut from left to right so you don't see any staircases in your yard. Deck function and drive function are tested again on the way out of the shop just to make sure all is operating as it should. And of course, last but not least, the machine is thoroughly washed to make sure all debris from previous season is removed together with greases and oils, so you're ready to start the new year with a clean machine.